It's time for This Week in WordPress, episode number 247, entitled You Gotta Take Those Moonshots. It was recorded on Monday, the 3rd of April, 2023. My name's Nathan Wrigley, and today I'm joined by three wonderful guests. I'm joined by Jess Frick, by Robbie Adair, and also by James Giroux. We talk a lot about WordPress this week, and some of it is to do with the latest version of WordPress, because yes, WordPress 6.2 has landed. What's in it? What features do we like? And what are we looking forward to in the next phase of the block editor, which is all about collaboration? We also talk about the fact that I'm trying to get Michelle Frechette to WordCamp Europe. I have a donation page if you're interested in helping this fabulous community member attend WordCamp Europe in Athens this year. SolidWP is the new name for all of the iThemes properties. In the past you had various things, backup body, sync and so on. They're now going to be rebranded under the moniker SolidWP. What do you think? We had an interesting chat about that. The Block Visibility plugin by Nick Diego, well, it's now gone open source. The pro version is no more. And the mighty Nick has decided he's going to give it all away for free. How lovely is that? WP Engine have a new pattern manager. There's a new block plugin form builder called Form Block. And also, somewhat tragically, on April the 1st, all of WordPress's source code was released online. Patchstack tells us more. It's all coming up next on This Week in WordPress. This episode of the WP Builds podcast is brought to you by GoDaddy Pro, the home of managed WordPress hosting that includes free domain, SSL, and 24/7 support. Bundle that with the Hub by GoDaddy Pro to unlock more free benefits to manage multiple sites in one place, invoice clients, and get 30% off new purchases. Find out more at go.me/WP Builds. Hello! Hey, hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good whatever, wherever you are, depending on which part of the globe you're in. We're all in different parts of the globe today. Well, I am at least anyway. The rest of you are over on that big piece of continent called America. We have joined, well, there's three of us joining today. We've got Jess Frick. Hello, how are you doing, Jess?
I am doing good, Nathan Wrigley.
I was rolling the R's there for effect.
You started it, yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Jess is the Director of Operations for Pressable, a Make WordPress hosting team rep. She's also an iced tea connoisseur. Do we say iced or ice?
Iced, because it has been iced.
Iced tea connoisseur and a proud...
Unless you're a rapper.
Oh, yes. We won't get into that. She's also a proud member of the Post Status community. Thank you for joining us again for this episode number 243 of the WP Builds This Week in WordPress. We've also got, first time, Robbie Adair. We don't know how to say her surname. She tells me it can be said multiple ways. What's the best way?
Well, like I said, if you're in Texas or Louisiana, they normally say Adair. But if you're anywhere else in the world, they say Adair. So I just answer to whatever people say. Normally, it's hey you.
Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, you'll enjoy it and come back. Robbie is the CEO of OSTraining.com, an online web development training company, and one of the co-hosts on Do the Woo podcast. Have you managed to keep up with Bob? Have you figured out exactly where he is these days? I hear he's got to Portugal. He's safe and sound. Bags have arrived.
Exactly. He's sipping coffee by a lighthouse view. I was just like, I'm so jealous right now. I quit posting those, Bob.
I confess I did see some of those, and it was exactly the same. It was one of those, why did he get to do that and I didn't think to do that moments? Yeah.
I'm so happy for him.
Yeah,
that's what a cool adventure, right?
Tell us a little bit about OS Training before we get to James.
Sure. So OS Training has been around for over a decade, actually. I bought it about 3 years ago from Steve Burge. He started it years ago. It actually started as Joomla training because they wanted to do in-classroom training for Joomla because there was any kind of open source training out there. And so he wanted to do in-classroom. I actually did some of his in-classroom in Houston for him. It was great. And it was so, like, we had students come in and go, I didn't even know this kind of training existed. It's so great. It's a long time ago though, right? And so then it just kind of grew. And so he rebranded to OS for open source. Now we just kind of use the OS as just because it's been there for so long, but we've actually started adding in a few tools that we think would help web developers that aren't necessarily open source, but we still primarily focus on the three big open source: WordPress, Joomla, and Drupal. Those are our core trainings that we have in the website. So, and then we also do some online live training for people, companies. We do some white label training as well for people who they just want something very specific or want something for their product built.
Very cool. I'd forgotten the Steve Burge connection. Steve's been on the show a couple of times, and I'd forgotten that's how he.
Steve and I go way back.
He's got an interesting story, hasn't he? Yeah, he was a teacher and got fed up with that, and then did OS training because it hit the nail on the head with the teaching aspect. And then he sold it to you, and now he's got Publish Press, which actually, curiously, will overlap some of the stuff we're going to talk about today because it looks like the next iteration of WordPress is going to touch on a lot of what Steve's plugin does. But anyway, we'll come to that.
Yeah.
Lastly, but by no means least, best background of the week award. I have to say, sorry, the other two of you, but my background's always rubbish, so I'm out of the count. But I just think that fan, whatever that fan bulb thing is pretty cool. It's James Giro. How are you doing?
I am doing well. How are you?
I think I butchered your name. I'm so sorry.
No, you actually didn't do too bad this time.
This time.
If Adair is one that people struggle with, you can imagine what Giroux is like.
Giroux, okay, yes, yes.
See, now if you were in Louisiana, it'd be Giro.
I will definitely try to do better. But yeah, splendid camera setup you've got there. James is contributing to the future of work in WordPress as the founder of Team WP, the team and culture platform designed specifically for WordPress teams. Well, I've asked about OS training, so I can't pass this one up, really, can I? What's Team WP?
Yeah, a little bit of a side project thing that I kicked off. I started writing a little bit last year about psychological safety and culture stuff around WordPress teams and just the WordPress community in general. And as that started to get a little bit of traction and people started to respond to it, it really got me thinking that maybe there's an opportunity here for us to bring some of these practices that happen in the larger companies within WordPress to some of the smaller teams in WordPress and give them access to the resourcing and thinking in running great teams and building a great workplace culture to the masses, basically. My hypothesis, the one that I've been working through, is that if we can help WordPress teams develop great ways of working in their internal team structure and develop the kind of internal culture that really is forward looking, is supportive of people's growth plans, and just happy and healthy cultures, that we can actually see that trickle into the way we interact in the global WordPress community. Because those ways of working, those expectations of psychological safety, of great rituals and trust in communication will filter into the way we develop WordPress as a core product. So that's sort of the working hypothesis, and I'm getting ready to launch. Jess, you're on my private beta list, so you'll get an email later today, but it's opening up for private beta. The survey's launching today, so that's really...
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
Yeah, that genuinely is exciting, isn't it? When you've been working on something for so long and then finally you get to let the cat out there. Oh, James, this is exciting. Definitely a new direction. I'm going to definitely get you on the email at some point and try to drag you on the podcast so you can explain it in greater detail. That would be lovely. And Jess, I've totally realised I'm asking all of them what they do, and and I forgot to let you have.
I've only been on the show like 100 times.
I know, and I'm very sorry. How did the WordPress 6.2 rollout go for you guys at Pressable?
Oh man, why do you got to start there?
Is that a low?
There were some little tricky parts.
Oh.
Here's the thing. If I got to have, unlimited wishes, one of my wishes would be that people really do try using the beta version.
Right.
I feel like everybody is so reactive, and I think that when, people just assume that they can automatically update WordPress and everything will always be perfect, and that's not always the case. A lot of times it is. I think it's a bigger issue with the more major releases, like, from like 5 to 6. Obviously 6.2 is a major release.
Yeah.
But I think people would go a long way with just testing it, especially if you are with a managed WordPress host that offers free staging sites like Pressable. You can very easily do it in a no-risk way.
You just click the button. It's trivially easy. Click the button, wait 2 minutes, and play over there.
But like, honestly, the update was good. I mean,
nice.
Here's the thing. We are in kind of a really blessed position in that we are working with people that, run WordPress.com. So like they know what they're doing for sure. And we've got an incredible team. The Pressable staff is truly a group of experts. And so everything was handled every step of the way. But, we always have to do it with delicate touch.
Yeah, it's interesting because of the nature of the fact that most of the plugins that I use, I kind of have real faith in them. I don't really have that trepidation of pressing update and hoping, but I imagine the wealth of different sites that you must have over there with, I don't know, probably hundreds of thousands of plugins, all a different mismatch of everything. It's a bit of a lottery, isn't it? And no doubt your support team have to suddenly bear the brunt when
my frequent quote is never underestimate someone's ability to do bad things to their website. It's
well, now you just need to push him over to Robbie, and she can train him up
with the best of intentions.
The ones I'm thinking of, I would not send to her because I like her.
Well, anyway, really, thank you for joining us. Go check it out. Pressable.com, full-on managed WordPress hosting company where Jess works. Right, we got a few comments coming in. I should probably get to those. So kitchen sink WordPress. I can never remember who is this, and so I've put in a little comment. It's Brian. No, it's Dave, or is it Jeff? It's one of those. It's not even one of those. But thank you for joining us. Good afternoon. Somebody's joining us. Who's this? This is Atif. He's joining us. He says he'll be listening in the background. That's really nice. Thank you very much. Elliot from down the road, for me at least. Anyway, he lives about, 10 miles in that direction. It's really nice to have you joining us. Thank you. And Porto. Why have you said Porto? Don't know. Peter Ingersoll's joined us to give us a weather update. It's Connecticut. It's every week we have this. 2 degrees centigrade, 36 degrees Fahrenheit. It's sunny. It's 9 a.m. in the morning. And look, Riposte is WP Kitchen Sink, 11 degrees. He's got 9 degrees on you. From Carey. Is that Carey? Carey? I don't know. And I want to say North Carolina. Is that what NC is?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Carey is just outside of Raleigh. You probably heard of that.
I've heard of it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 45 degrees. And anyway, morning. We've also got somebody joining us from Buenos Aires. Thank you very much. Demystifying Dev. Victor Kane, it looks like, is the real name there. But thank you for putting those comments in. I really appreciate it. If you want to make this conversation a bit more lively, we would appreciate that. The best thing to do is to direct people to that URL, wpbuilds.com/live. Stop what you're doing, unless you're a fireman, and then just carry on. Please let get the fire put out first. Then go over to wpbuilds.com, copy that URL, paste it somewhere social, and let the world know that we're doing this. And it would be really nice to have more people along. Right, what we're doing, WordPress is what we're doing. But before we do that, a little bit of self-promotion. Hope you don't mind. wpbuilds.com, that is our website. We are sponsored down here by GoDaddy Pro. Really appreciate everything that they've done for us. If you want to subscribe, stick your email address in there, and we'll send you 2 emails a week when we produce new content. That's it. But the first piece of news that I want to highlight is this little beauty on the right-hand side here. This is. I was chatting to Michelle Frechette last week, and she said to me, "I've quite fancied going to WordCamp Europe," and I said, "Well, let's see if we can make that happen." So forgive this, but I'm going to do it because I think it'd be nice to get Michelle there. Currently, we've put a target together of how much we think it's going to take to get Michelle there. We're not saying what that is. We've just got this number in our head. And so far, over a period of about 4 or 5 days, we've managed to get 51% of that total with very little in the way of promote. I mean, a few tweets and things like that. So if you want to go back to our website homepage, you could click on this button here and link to it. Michelle does. It is monstrously massive amounts that Michelle does. When she comes on this podcast episode, we always make a bit of a joke because her biography is a full A4 page of things, projects she's working on, things that she's done. I genuinely don't know how she manages to get any of it finished, but she does. She's a force of nature. And I think
she's a robot and she doesn't sleep.
Yeah, that's right. She is AI. There's 3 of her.
Yes.
And she made in a test tube somewhere. And we want her to go. So what this form is on this page, you just supply us your name, your email address, and an amount that you would donate. This is not a payment form. This is just you saying, look, if Michelle gets the amount that we want, I will give $50, $200, whatever you want to put in that box. And then if it's successful and we get over the threshold, I'm going to put Michelle directly in touch with you so that you can honor that commitment and she can give you how it is that she wants that to happen. But okay, so there you go. If you want to do that, if you want to help Michelle out, that's the page to go to. It's wpbuilds.com/Michelle-WCEU, or like I said, you can find it on the homepage. Now, I know that's not really a piece of news as such, but I am going to open it up to any of you 3 if you want to comment.
Love Michelle. I agree. Everybody needs to do this, but can you go back a second?
Yep. To the page here.
Yeah. What are you using for this?
This is just WS form.
Is it?
Yep.
That's
so
beautiful.
this is just a form.
Yep. I love the pledged percentage. It's just very clean.
Oh, okay. So this is a block. This is it's like a, I don't know, what do they call it? Progress bar kind of block, but they offer it as a circle option as well. And it's just blocks basically. Just a ton
beautiful
of blocks.
Form, clean. I love it.
Yeah, WS form.
See, look how I made it about WordPress.
Yeah, dynamite. Thank you. I don't know if James or Robbie have anything that they want to add to this. If not, we'll just crack on.
Hey, like I said, Michelle is amazing. She is everywhere. Every time I'm anywhere related to WordPress, there's Michelle smiling, and and she just, she is a great connector. That's, she really connects people. And so, hey, I hope she's there. I expect to see her every time I go to a WordCamp.
Yeah, indeed. That would be really nice, wouldn't it? So if you want to do that, go fill that form out and we'll crack on with the rest of the WordPress news. Okay, so this is a truly massive week for WordPress. I mean, how often do we do this? Probably 3 times a year, something like that. We go from 6.1 to 6.2 or 5.8 to 5.9. This one's called Dolphy. I think I'm pronouncing that right. As is always the case, it's the name there is assigned to a jazz musician, in this case, Eric Allen Dolphy. I never quite get the connection, but there you go. I guess it's Matt's proclivity that he likes jazz music, and so that's the tradition that we've got. And there is an absolute boatload in this release. Some nice polish has been added, and some things which I think it's fair to say in the site editor were more difficult to use previously than they are now. I've had a bit of a play, and some unexpected things came my way in the UI. I was thinking, oh, that's interesting, mostly around inserting things like images and Openverse and things like that. But I'm just going to go through it with you in case you haven't updated, or you've updated but you haven't actually had a play. But essentially, we now have a way to, the navigation block has been expanded, and it's a little bit more easy to use in the sidebar now. If you're looking at it on the screen, you'll be able to see that's now how you're going to be building your menus in non-classic themes. It's really straightforward and easy to use. It's a ton easier to discover things that you want to put in. So that bit is called the block inserter. You press plus and you can insert all different things. Well, previously you just got a great gigantic list of blocks, and sometimes they were quite hard to find. Now they've been sort of set out into different layers. We've got this tabbed interface, we've got blocks, patterns, and media. And then, for example, if you go into patterns, you get a further interface, and then things pop out on the right. This is really nice for the media section of things. You can just click and it shows you your most recent images, which is typically what you're after, the thing that you uploaded 10 minutes ago. So that's a nice improvement. We've also got this tabbed interface where they're splitting up settings from styling. So settings is a cogwheel, styling is like a circle split in half, but all of the, text colors and font colors and all of that kind of stuff lives in there now. So that's nice and easy. I think they've taken that's come from third parties like Cadence and things have been doing this for a little while. The headers and footers, I don't really know why that's particularly different, but this is super cool. Now, 700 million pieces of media, which includes images and audio and things like that, are now available to insert right inside the editor. So if you're looking at the screen, somebody's just simply typed in the word birds, and there they are. There's just a little panel of images. It will go down and you can scroll through it and get lots of them. And all of the things that you're going to click on there, you are free to use and do what you like with them. So you can stop worrying about Mr. Getty and his great big team of lawyers coming after you because you accidentally inserted a 2x2 pixel image of something and they got you for it. This distraction-free writing mode is truly distraction-free. There is a little video of it on the WP Tavern article about this, but you click the button, all the UI goes away. You are left with a pure white screen and the writing that you've been doing. And I tried that out this week, and I have to say, I do get distracted. I do find that the stuff kind of, I don't know what it is, but I start clicking on things for no good reason. That's all gone. I'll be using that a lot. The style book is here so that you can see how all of the different parts of a site will look on your website. So it'll show you the H1s through to the H6s. It will show you buttons with their rounded corners, and you can just see all of it in one big go. Copying, pasting styles. If you like a style of a block, you copy it, go to another block, paste it, all the styles come along. That's a super cool time saver. And you can add tons of custom CSS all over the place if that's your thing. I don't know why this didn't get more attention. Sticky positioning is now available on like a top level group block. So if you've got a load of groups of things, you just say, okay, make the top one sticky. And obviously when you scroll it out, it now no longer goes out the viewport. You can import widgets, and also local fonts are available in themes. If you've got a classic theme, you can import your fonts so that you don't get in trouble with GDPR. And it's significantly more performant. If you're using a classic theme, less so. If you're using a block theme, it's gone up by like 15, 18% in terms of speed. And I need a drink of water because I've spoken for too long. So any of you three want to jump in and tell us any of your favorite bits of WordPress 6.2? We'll make sure there's time for all three of you.
I just think, as somebody who's been a big fan of Rich Tabor for a while, when I look at this, I just see his fingerprints, his design style all over it. And it's really great because he's been such a good contributor of aesthetic, I think, to the WordPress ecosystem, that now that he's like fully integrated into the whole ecosystem now, we're all benefiting from that. And it's just really cool to see you can just see his little bits thrown in everywhere. So every time I look at it, I go, oh, Rich.
Yeah, that's not nice. Oh, I hope he's listening to this. I'll give him a real nice pat on the back moment. That's lovely. Thank you, James. Anything from Robbie or Jess?
I think they're all exciting features that we're seeing. All I can say is every time that we come up with these, I'm like, because we're working on our new WordPress book and WordPress class, and I'm just like, okay, all right, step back. Now we've got to go back because we've got to go add some things and change some screens and blah, blah, blah. So, I'm happy. Yay. But it means more work.
That is a really unique perspective, right? Because everybody normally is, give me the features, throw in new features. You're like, stop with the features already.
No, we want the new features because it means we have new content to write about. But at the same time, we were in the midst of like getting our WordPress 6, and it's, boy, I tell you, it's been a lot. There's like from 5.9, like basically once you go 5 to 6.2, My goodness. So as you know, as we're working on this, it's like, okay, now let's go back and let's go tweak that, because now we want to show, focus, distraction-free writing, things like that. You want to show those features that are there, but they weren't there. And so now it's like, oh, okay, let's go do it. And we don't like to work with betas on our training just because things might change. I mean, as much as you hope they don't between beta and release, there are some changes. And so it's kind of bit us sometimes to work with a beta. So we do wait till it's actually a real published feature, you know what I mean? So that we know we're not going backwards.
Yeah, and there is so much in this actually, and a lot of it is going to be your daily driver, like the distraction-free
Exactly.
mode and the menu. Like the menu mode, you can't not write about that menu block. Really, it's just a
No.
total no-brainer. Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah, you're the first
Mhm.
person who's, I think, ever expressed that thing to
Whew.
me. Oh
Yeah,
no.
it's a lot. It's a lot
Yeah.
to it. But I mean, it's like I said, it's always a good thing. And we see this, by the way, this is not unique to WordPress world. This is the same when Joomla comes out with a brand new big feature set. Whenever Drupal does, it's like we have to look back at all our classes and go, oh, okay, now we got to go back and we got to go fix this, and you got to replace all of these screenshots, because I mean, you're showing we in our classes, we like to actually truly build. And so, so that the person who's watching, they can just watch the class if they want to, or they can literally participate and go along. And at the end, they have built something from beginning to end. And so that means we're showing it. Like we're showing that screen the entire time. So when there's major releases, we've had to go in and do some inserts. When the block editor did come in, that was an insert into our WordPress class, things like that. But it's more cohesive if we have it all in from the very beginning before we release the class.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a really interesting
Yeah.
insight. We sort of touched on this a bit, didn't we, Jess? But have you got any more that you want to reflect upon?
Yeah, well, I mean that's a great point. Is Site Editor came out of beta in this release. We got Openverse, which is awesome. Okay, two confessions. Number one, I suck at CSS. I've got like a brain block. I have to look it up every single time I have to do something.
Do you not have
And
the cheat
so,
sheet on the wall, that big?
you know what, man? Like, I'm going to show my age here. I remember when Flash came out and I was like, this is the future of the internet. And I learned Flash and I'm like, CSS is going to go away. And
Oh no!
and
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know if my brain needs to be right, but I've got this weird brain block with CSS. So the copy paste CSS is so amazing for me.
Yeah.
I can't even begin to tell you. Like that's just one of those like little things that's going to be great. And they made it easier to do custom CSS too, which is great because like I said, I can look it up and go borrow from other places. Sometimes
Well,
they
now,
give it
Jess,
away.
now you can just go chat GPT and say, hey, how do I do this in CSS? And it'll write it for you.
Not in
I
I have a
Italy.
story
could.
about that. I
Yeah,
did that
I
this
could.
weekend. Oh my goodness, mind blowing.
Well, can we reserve the Chat GPT
Yeah,
conversation for later? Because
yeah.
Jess has dropped something in which is really
Yeah.
interesting. So
And there's
go on,
one
carry on.
other thing that I wanted to bring up, the other confession. So I've done some websites for organizations who I love, obviously. I just help them. But they don't pay me and they're doing their own thing and they're perfectly happy with their old school website that has not been updated to block themes. And the reason that they haven't been updated is because I don't have time to deal with the fact that they're all built with widgets, because
Right.
that's how you used to do things. And 6.2 is giving you the ability to import classic widgets into your block theme, which is something that we haven't had before. And so now it might be time to go revisit these older websites and bring them
Nice.
into the future.
Yeah, that is, I mean, genuinely, I think this is a really nice release. There's a whole ton of stuff. I confess, I'm still not on board with the block theme thing. I don't mean by that I don't think it's a good idea. I just haven't yet got myself to the point where I'm entirely satisfied that my workflow works with them yet. So I'm keen to explore what the new navigation block and what the options are in terms of styling it and all of the CSS.
Patterns are cool, man.
Yep. The patterns, the way that patterns are now presented is so much better. So in the past, you would click on the patterns button and then you would get one drop down, which would show you all the categories, and you'd click into the categories from the drop down. But now all the categories immediately are displayed as sub menus. You then click on those and then you get a visual representation of them all. And it's just so much cleaner. It looks more like, dare I say it, a SaaS app. It looks like
Mm.
something that like Notion or something like that. I just think it's really, really well done. There's absolutely tons in there. It was delayed. The last beta was delayed for a day or so. I can't really remember why that was now, but it came out on time as far as I know. And I've heard no problems. I've heard of no problems so far with it balking anybody's sites. But yeah, interesting. So that was WordPress 6.2. Big piece of news for us in this community, at least. Sarah Gooding did an article. She obviously explains it in a different way. And if you like the style that Sarah has, which I do, then you can go and read. She brings out a lot of the different things that we just mentioned. And in some cases, she also brings a video to bear. Let's just quickly watch this one. You'll get an idea. There you go. There is the distraction-free mode. Not a thing in sight apart from text, which I think is great. Let's hope you don't get trapped in there.
Stresses me out, man.
Yeah. What
where's all my stuff?
Oh, really? I'm totally the opposite. That's just ideal for me. And with the keyboard shortcuts that I'm now getting to be part of my muscle memory, I'm very happy with the way this is perfect for me.
Oh, those keyboard shortcuts are, like when you come from a page builder sort of methodology and way of working, you're used to just using your mouse for everything. And when you make the mental leap from mouse to keyboard, it's going backwards really, but the mental leap of doing that is so convenient. I've started doing it all the time now. It's great.
So Jess, next time you come on the show, not only do we want you to have memorized the lexicon of CSS, but also we need you to have memorized all the keyboard shortcuts inside Block. Okay, it's a small ask. Come on.
Yeah, no, for you, Nathan.
Oh, you're so kind.
I will do it.
Yeah, thank you. Date and time issue with the plugins. Oh, is that what it was? Something like that. Date and time issue with plugins like WooCommerce. It was delayed for 1 day. But that was the final beta. Yeah, beta 4, I think it was. But thank you. I appreciate that. That's great. There's a little bit of a conversation going on. Maybe if there's time at the end, Jess, you'll be able to answer that. Somebody's asking, why pressable? And maybe Jess can be given a bit of time
indeed
to answer. Yes, that's right. We'll give you ponder that answer because I'm sure you've never thought that question before. And we'll go on to the fact that the classic themes are obviously now not being pushed so much. We're into an era of site editing. That has had its beta label dropped. And because that beta label has been dropped, we're kind of out of phase 2 now. Phase 1 was blocks. Phase 2 was site editing. I mean, other things as well, but broadly it was that. And now we're into phase 3. Phase 3 is... honestly, if this gets pulled off, not only will I be staggered, actually, Robbie, Steve Burge has a lot to say about this because he's really keen to see how this all goes. Phase 3 is all about collaboration. And when I think about it, I think concurrent editing. I'm thinking Google Docs. I'm thinking I'm in a page, you're in a page, we're both interacting in the page at the same time. I like the way Google Docs does it with the little lines with the name attached to it, but I'm not wedded to it. There's an exploration process that's going to start happening. And that's essentially what this post by Matthias Ventura is about. He's outlining what phase 3 collaboration looks like. And of course, it's not just text on pages like on Google Docs. It could be, I don't know, sharing patterns, or it could be collaborating on the site's editing experience. I really don't know what the boundaries are going to be and where that would all start to get a bit clumsy. But this
workflow as well.
Yeah, workflows as well. Yeah, so this is the third phase: real-time collaboration, asynchronous collaboration, publishing flows, and this is the piece that I thought would be of interest to Steve Burge, who used to own OS Training and now has PublishPress. Just this idea of building into core WordPress, setting up some constraints about what can be published and what can't. You know, if there's no, featured image of a certain size, the publish, it's impossible. If you haven't filled out your tags or categories or whatever it may be, those flows are coming. Post revisions interface is going to get a bit of an update. And also this one, admin redesign. I mean, boy, wow. Yes, please. Let's have that. I mean, we've had the admin for forever, as far as I can work. Since I've been using WordPress, the admin has changed very, very little. A section which is just being labeled here as library, which is where you're going to manage your patterns and blocks and styles and fonts. and then development of a global search and command component so that you can get to a part of your WordPress website, specifically to a part of your WordPress website, by typing in a search. So it feels a bit like on the Mac, we've got that thing, what's it called, Spotlight or something, where you invoke it, you type something in, and it just takes you right to the thing that you need. Because typically, if you want to, I don't know, get to a particular screen or a sub menu or a set, you have to go click on a thing, wait for it to load, click on another thing, go to all of that's going to be looked at as well. So this is tremendously exciting. It's exciting when a post on WordPress gets like, oh, look at all the comments. So many people chipping in and giving their opinions on all this. So phase 3, what are your thoughts? I mean, I can already see Robbie's like, oh, I've got 1,000 pages to write in the next 6 months. Yeah. So
Exactly.
open to you. Whoever wants to take it first. Robbie, maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say, and you're right. Actually, Steve, he did a great interview. I can't remember what podcast it was on, but
it was mine. It was my podcast. Yes.
Well, it was great. I listened to it on my walk. It was fantastic. And I was like, yes. I mean, because he was really, and it's kind of something that's in the back of my mind too, is how are they going to do this? And mainly because when you're talking collaborative, the servers have got to have some power behind them. And so what about the people who are on little dinky servers and things like that? I mean, how is this going to work for them? Is it going to be restrictive to certain, you have to have this set up to be able to actually even use collaborative tools? I don't know. It's fascinating. And I do think this is a big thing. The other thing that I think is interesting, just going to say because we work with all the different open source big platforms, we see trends, right? So this is a trend that we've seen also happening in Joomla and also happening in Drupal, that we want the workflows, that we want the collaboration, we want to redo the admins. I mean, it's literally like little replicas in the world, of this is the thing to do now. So I do think that's quite interesting. I do think that was a big order in that collaborative list, though, that you just went over. I was like, that is huge. That's years of work, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to have this out, this time next year. That is huge. That's a big, big change. And it's a lot. I kind of feel like they will pare that down a little bit before they start releasing things, just because that's big. It's real big.
In the podcast interview that you alluded to there, Robbie, Steve, he drilled down on how he really couldn't conceive of how you would achieve collaborative editing on cheap infrastructure. So let's say you're on a $4 a month hosting plan, and you're hoping to get 12 people collaboratively editing something. I mean, it's all right with Google, isn't it? They throw $1 billion at their infrastructure, and it's their cloud, and they can probably leverage that. And, they just make it work. But if you've got cheap, affordable hosting, and you're trying to make this stuff work, I do wonder if we're getting ourselves into a little bit of an issue where the expectation is going to be, well, I'm going to be using WordPress. It's going to be completely compatible. Steve's notion was that maybe it'll be on a block by block basis. So 2 people can collaborate in the same document, but not on the same block. So if I'm in this paragraph, you can't be in that one, but you can be in the one below it, or adding your own new one underneath it. So that was kind of an interesting one. But so, Jess, we just talked about cheap hosting and all of that. I'm guessing that this kind of stuff is the stuff that your team is thinking about, getting ready for what is going to happen. The expectations of what hosting is going to have to cope with presumably are going to start to go up. There was even talk somewhere about whether this was going to be some sort of SaaS service, like you buy into a WordPress.com collaborative editing account, $10 a month or something, and it enables the infrastructure on that end. I don't know. I just wondered what your thoughts were.
Okay, this is where I do my once an episode caveat. My views do not necessarily reflect those of my employer.
Thank you.
I think if this is going to become a SaaS thing, they're going to have a hard time finding people to devote their time for the open source project, coding it to make .com money. I think if that were the case, they would need to use .com's people and, their paid developers. But, admittedly, when I first read this, again, not really thinking through it, my first thought was, I literally never want somebody editing the page at the same time as me.
Right. Yep. Get it. Get it.
But I often have a colleague who leaves the page open and then I got to kick them out when I don't even think they're doing anything. And how nice would it be to see if they're actually working instead of like,
You keep an eye on them. Yes.
Well, no, not like that, but like before I
sorry.
kick them so I could work on the page, because it'll say, like Wayne is in the website. Like I don't want to like boot him out if he's doing something.
Right.
But then I thought about this from a product perspective. And yes, this latest WordPress release had over 600 contributors, which is amazing.
I forgot to say that. Thank you.
But we have so many other things that need to be done. Is this really the top priority? That's a question a lot of people are asking right now, and I don't know the answer. I mean, I think it is the top priority because we've said it is, but there are a lot of people who say there's a lot of UX stuff that needs to be addressed too, and I don't know that this real-time collaboration is going to do it. I think there's a lot of really, really smart stuff in here, and I'm so excited for what it's going to bring. But I do have reservations for those reasons.
That's interesting. I was having a conversation with somebody last week, and one of the challenges we have with WordPress is, so much of our creative process is driven by developers. And what do developers want to do? They want to create features, right? And one of the challenges I think we see is we don't have a lot of product people leading the charge, like product first, product discipline, product management discipline people leading a lot of these conversations, which means you often have solutions without problems. And we devote a lot of attention and energy into solutions without problems, and we pat ourselves on the back because we delivered something. Meanwhile, you have challenges like we still have the debate in some circles around classic versus block editor. Why is that a debate, right? It's because we didn't do a good job in the early days of clearly articulating the user story of why we need blocks to be the thing, right? I think most people are on that wagon now, and most people understand why. But had we done a better job maybe at the beginning of articulating the user story and the problem we're trying to solve, that would have gone a long way in helping to mitigate some of that challenge. So I think collaboration is good, but who is the target audience for that? Is this an 80-20 split where we're serving the 20% rather than the 80%? When I think of most WordPress websites, there's only one person ever actively working on the site, right? And that's probably the 80-20 split. And so where is the need for this? And when I look, I'm going to put on a bit of a different lens here and look at it from some of our hosting companies' perspective, who are dealing with scaled WordPress, right? And they're dealing with enterprise, and they have multiple stakeholders, they have multiple people editing, they have multiple people designing and developing, and they're working in groups and teams on various parts of the website at the same time. That's where collaboration becomes important. And that's where revenue is tied up as well, right? Because while the 80-20 split is 80% of one person companies or one person editors, the revenue split is probably the opposite, 80-20, right? So finding that balance, that commercial approach to it, I don't think is a bad thing to do. I think we have to consider that. And if we can say, like, this is part of that balance, by creating collaboration tools, we're actually making it easier for us to create the capacity for us to work on these other things. So yes, we have a whole laundry list of UX things we need to work on, and we're going to balance that with some of these commercial and maybe higher end enterprise things in order to make sure that WordPress remains the number one choice of revenue generating websites or revenue generating or ecosystem supporting activities that we can have for WordPress.
This is a really interesting conversation. There's so many different angles here, and I appreciate all of them. It's also kind of interesting, you, James, especially with your team hat on. Be kind of interesting to see if does anybody even need this beyond. I mean, for me, I would really like to have document editing collaboratively. That would work wonders for me. But would I personally want to be editing a site with other people at the same time? I'm not sure that I would. I just can't even imagine that workflow. It looks like, Robbie, you've got something you want to say there.
I was going to say, I want to add to what James was saying too, because I want to do two different hats here. One, my training hat, right? Collaborative for training. This is fantastic for us, because it's like we can actually be training and showing them directly in the same document while you're showing them something. And so this is a great training tool, in my opinion. We can use it for that. Now, I also have an agency that I've had for 20 years. And so when I put on my agency hat and think about this, I think about consulting with my clients and supporting my clients. And again, this kind of is a cool little tool for me to use. Normally we build a site and then we go and we kind of show the client, right? You do, I'll call it custom training. You're showing them how to work in their site in particular, the way it's set up. But imagine if you could also literally go drill down to, okay, let's go build this post. And I'm going to show you how to put blocks up here. I'm going to show you how to apply your styles, like collaboratively, real time. You can see what they're building. You can see them mess up, things like that. And so I think that, yes, I think James is right about the 80-20. 80% of the time you're doing your own site probably, or there's one person from the organization who's working on it and all that. But I think if we try to broaden the idea of how we can use collaborative tools, then we could use it for more than just pure, this is a team of people collaborating on an article.
Absolutely.
So you see what I'm saying? Yeah.
That's the product lens, right? Of being able to say, here's the user story, right? And we want agencies to be able to work with their clients. We want support engineers to be able to jump in, right? And be able to quickly solve a problem. We want to be able to do training, right? Like, to me, those three things create the business case that says collaboration is more than just multiple, it's more than the enterprise, right? That enterprise is just one of those user stories, but all four of those create the business case where we can go and say to people, this is why this matters, and this is why it's a priority now.
The other thing I think is we're future looking towards bringing more people into the ecosystem, which are going to be younger people, right?
That's right.
Younger people expect collaborative tools. They've grown up now with the Zoom, with the Google Docs. They are used to working together. Actually, they're better at working together in collaborative teams than we are, because we've done it all ourselves. They've had this digital ecosystem that had collaborative tools out there. So I think they will adapt to it better than we do.
That is a really interesting point, because you're completely right. My kids have no conception that a document cannot be edited by a gazillion people at the same time. You remember like the whole tennis of getting a Word document around a team of people and how tortuous that was? Then this generation have no concept that was a thing, and yet stick them in a WordPress site, suddenly they're back there. It's like, well, what do you mean locked? What? And I think that is just that reason alone is compelling enough for me to say, yeah, we should, because we've got to shore up the next generation who are fully going to expect that. I just don't know where I sit. For me, I'd like to see the post editor, just that bit fixed first. I don't really know too much about the other bits just yet, but I just want to draw attention to something Courtney said. She said Leslie had put a really nice comment into the article, and whilst you were speaking, I was trying to read it, but it's fairly near the bottom. If you go to the page in question that Matthias crafted, and then go and search for Leslie, Lesley, it's leslie.pizza. She's got this really long comment where she gets into this whole workflow thing. What are the sort of concrete examples of how this might be used? And she's written quite a lot with some final thoughts. So, and as Courtney's mentioned it, I thought we'd raise that. So go and have a look.
I wasn't going to name names, but Leslie's the one who I had the conversation with about it.
Oh, really? Excellent.
Yeah, it's good. No, it's good. That's awesome, because she's exactly right. It's that product hat. We've got to invite more product people into the conversation around what's going on with the development of WordPress and create these stories. It's just if you work in larger companies, like I've had the benefit of working in places like Envato and Liquid Web and Gravity Forms, is name drop a couple of examples.
Yeah, nice.
But the thing that you see in these larger teams is that when you have a product discipline actually informing and supporting the work that you're doing, it creates better outcomes for everyone. Not everyone is happy all the time because you have to necessarily say no, but the thing that's been amazing is to see the articulated end, right? The articulated outcome be something that people can rally around and at least understand, right? And can see the business case that's being made. I say business case. That's a term I've borrowed from Envato days, but you couldn't do anything without a lean canvas that talked about the problem you were trying to solve, who the target audience was,
Right.
what the
Yeah.
benefit was going to be. And I mean, like, just having that discipline built into our workflow in WordPress would be phenomenal, I think, in helping to get people to rally behind the work that's being done.
Figure out the user journey. Yeah.
Mm.
Peter Ingersoll's made a good point. He says collaboration may be a disservice. Made the same point that several of you have. What percentage of WordPress users really need collaborative editing compared to everything else? And he's saying the UI and the UI UX of the admin area seems like it might be somewhere that needs more attention. And Courtney seems to reflect that. She says, I also do think that the UI overhaul, I do think we need an UI overhaul. Finally, it's been stagnant since 3.9. Gosh, is that really it? Wow. However, we must maintain at least the same level of accessibility. Yeah, it does start to look a bit old, the WordPress UI, a bit now. I mean, I'm in it every day, so it's like a comfortable old pair of shoes. It doesn't really trouble me that much. But when I go to a new SaaS app, built on some crazy JavaScript technology, you do look at it and think, would be nice to have something a little bit more modern. So props to Leslie there. Go and read her little comment. So yeah, and I apologize, I'm not getting through all of the comments. I can see that there's quite a lot of you dropping things in, but I can't get them all on the screen. Otherwise, we'd never get to our articles. So speaking of which, I'm going to miss out the interactivity API, but I will alert you to the fact that this piece exists. Proposal: the interactivity API, a better developer experience in building interactive blocks. It's quite interesting. If you watch the video, there's a little video here where they explain how this is going to work, but it's very much a research project at the moment. But I'll link it in the show notes and you can go and have a look at it. However, this is fairly big news. You've all heard of iThemes, haven't you? You definitely heard of iThemes. Not anymore. Not anymore, you haven't. It's changing. All of it's changing. They've taken on a new brand, and they're doing this thing called branding in public. So they're going to do it in the public eye. This is the first step in that process. Rebranding, I should say, in public. They're shifting their branding. Everything's now going to be solid. Solid WP is going to be the main thing. So it's going to be solid security. Think iThemes security. Solid backups. Think backup body. Solid central. I think that was called Sync, SYNC. And then Solid Academy was the work that Nathan Ingram was doing over at iThemes training. So this is just that. They just decided we want a bit of a rebrand. I guess if you look at what they're doing now, security backups, syncing, and Academy, well, there's not really a lot of theming in there anymore, is there? And so the moniker iThemes does seem to be a little bit astray of what their new mission is. So it's all going to happen soon. You've got the usual things at the bottom where the FAQs. What will this mean to me? And essentially, if you're using their brands and you're using their products, the long and the short of it seems to be, from everything that I read, just the branding. If you're on a plan, the plan will stay. If you've got a lifetime subscription for something, you've still got it. All of that kind of stuff applies. But I like it. I love the dark and the black and the purple. I think it's quite cool. And solid. I don't know. We use that word in the UK quite a lot, actually. I don't know if it's a word which typically in America gets used, but when we use the word solid, it just means like reliable. If I don't know, you might buy a new machine or something, like a new dishwasher or something, and you describe it as being solid. It's good. It's going to be around for years and years. So for me, this kind of sounds really cool. Over to you guys.
Well, speaking as the former brand and product marketing director at SolidWP, have a
Did you
bit of
know this
insider
was happening? Yeah.
known this was coming for a while.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
yeah, no, it's exciting to see it released. It's exciting to see it happening. Yeah, I mean, just to give you all a little insider on this, as marketing teams, and one of the challenges you have is how do you communicate your product to prospective customers, right? How do you explain in an elevator pitch what it is that you do? And iThemes was becoming more challenging to tell that story because you've got the word themes right in the name. So the automatic assumption is your theme company.
Yeah.
When we, at the, the group hasn't been doing themes for a while. And how do you elevate those parts of your business that are actually, what you want to focus on? So security and syncing and, backups and those other pieces, those foundational elements that you really should have to have a really solid WordPress experience.
You
Sorry.
just did it. You just
um,
did it. Yeah.
like you need that. So I'm excited about the brand. I'm excited, like a lot of work that's gone into it. The team behind it is great. For those of you who may not know, Modern Tribe, the agency was acquired a couple years ago by Liquid Web as well. So you've got this incredible team of designers and developers in the back end who are doing all this brand work, and they're just really cool people as well. So to see the fruit of their labor come through, and you can see it in Nexus as well. I don't know, Nexus went through a rebrand as well, and that looks really great as well. So
Can I ask
yeah,
you, James? I
props to
know
the
that
team.
this is no longer, you're not wearing this hat, but you know more about it than I do. Who in the pyramid here,
Mm.
Liquid Web is at the top of that pyramid, or Stellar is at the top of that pyramid? Is it
Oh,
Liquid Web owns Stellar, and then
yeah.
Stellar is kind of the owner of lots of these other WordPress brands?
Ownership's the wrong word.
Oh, okay.
What Stellar WP is it's a brand umbrella for all of the software products. So if you imagine you've got infrastructure, which is Liquid Web and Nexus, and you've got software, which is all of the things that they've
Got it.
acquired
Got
in
it.
the WordPress space.
So
So
Solid WP that we're looking at now, that will fall under the umbrella
yeah,
of Stellar.
that's correct.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That was such a cool insight. I appreciate that. That was very, very insightful. Thanks. I'm going to hand it over to Jess or Robbie if they want to comment. If not, we'll move on.
Well, James and I were both employed there for about a month. And then I left a year and a month ago. So yeah. I remember when Stellar was set up, and I'm excited to see what all they're doing. I don't love this. I think it's kind of bullish to name it after something that already exists.
Tell
There's
me.
already Stellar WP, or excuse me, Solid WP. It's a WordPress theme. If you Google it, they already have the Facebook, the Twitter. And it looks like Stellar went and bought the name. But also solid can mean other things here. And I just, yeah, I don't love the choice. I
Not
feel
your
like they could have
favorite.
done
No.
better. No, I think they could have done better. But again, also, like, I'm an iThemes chick. Like, I love everything that they've done. I agree that changing the name was probably a good move because iThemes is a beloved brand. But like James said, they haven't done themes for a very long time. I think getting away from known names like Sync could be problematic long term, strictly because there are so many people that have used it. It's a known name, and nobody's going to know what Solid Central is. It kind of sounds like something you'd see a doctor about. So
I just did the Google, and you're right. The first result that came up for me was something called bootstrapwp.com.
Yep.
And it looks like they're a theme shop because then there's a /themes/solid WP. So it appears to be a theme that you can purchase. It's a bootstrap theme that you can purchase. Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder what way this story will resurface in the future if they've done their due diligence to check if the name is available. Also curious, and I don't want you to say it out loud if it's something you don't, if you're not comfortable saying it, Jess. You highlighted there that solid could mean something else in the US. I genuinely don't know what you're referring to there, but I'm guessing it's not a good thing.
No, I mean, like, solid
Okay.
can mean all the things that you said. Solid
Okay.
can mean all the things that you said. It's just, I don't know. The association, when I heard that they were doing this a couple weeks ago, the first thing I thought is, oh my God, it reminds me of poop.
Okay.
But
I was not expecting that.
but I love the brand, and I love, like, understand I'm not like pooping on the people that did it at all. I feel like there were so many other names they could have chosen.
Well, interesting to get your points out there. Thank you, Jess. What about
Well,
Robbie? Have you got anything?
I was going to say, I did not work for iThemes at any point in time, so I was elected to, so I have no association on that side. My thought about the whole thing was just, it's very interesting that they chose to do a public rebranding, because it takes way longer. We've seen other companies do public rebranding. Oh my gosh, it takes forever, as well as it may change it, by the way, because they could get so much negative feedback in a rebranding publicly that it makes, then you've got to go back and reinvent the wheel. It's almost better, in my opinion, to do one of those, like, you've got your whole brand ready to go, your rebrand, and it's like, this is the date, and you just drop everything. Like, everything is done. Here's our new site. Here's our new logo. Here's our new social media accounts. Here's everything. And you try to do it all at one time. That's what, when we've done rebrandings with our clients, that's typically what we like to do. Because if you start doing this, like, we're going to put out our logo ideas for everybody to give their opinion on, oh my gosh, you know how many opinions there are out there. And so now all of a sudden it starts making you start questioning, like, well, are we right? Maybe we need to rethink this. And so it's interesting that they're going to do a public rebrand. Those are hard. Those are really hard.
Yeah, it'll be
Can I
interesting
just say one quick thing?
Yeah.
I feel really bad about saying what I said, and I want it to be perfectly clear that I want them to win, and I want them to win.
Yeah, well, we'll take it with the intent, right? And we'll assume positive intent in that comment, because that's right. And you do have history, and we all have history, and we get it. But we also have to be willing to call out things that maybe we don't like, or maybe that we don't see it as work, and that is part of the interesting side, Robbie, as you mentioned about this public rebrand. I clearly have not been involved in decisions around all of this for a while, since I no longer work there. But it is interesting. I think, like, the public side of it, who will win? It'll be the loudest voice rather than the most right voice. So that'll be interesting to see how they're influenced by that. And then also, if there are not so loud voices that are all articulating the same thing, what do you do with that? Right? What if you don't respond to that? Then was this really a public branding launch, or was it just a marketing ploy? Right? And if that's the case, right, then what does that say about the way you feel about humans, right?
So,
and your customer base.
Yeah, this is interesting. I genuinely didn't see the conversation going this way, so this is very surprising and quite engaging and fun. So I've got a few people chipping in here. So there seemingly is a podcast episode somewhere about SolidWP and it's in existence. Maybe somebody's already put out an episode about that conflict there. There's also apparently, so Dennis from Main WP says there's a something called Solid Affiliate for WooCommerce. So I guess the word solid is maybe being used quite a bit. So yeah, the differentiation there could be interesting. And also slightly outside of the,
by the way, they're a great team.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Not really in the WordPress space, but there's a JavaScript framework, front-end framework called Solid as well. So yeah, there's quite a lot of solid opposition around here, isn't there? Oh, we'll see.
I will say, like, no matter what name you pick, you're going to find somebody that's probably similar or something, right? Having just gone through the process of doing this with Team WP, right? Like, I mean, it's Team WP. There's probably another Team WP out there, and there is, in fact. Like, if you Google it, you'll find other things show up first. But does that mean you don't do it? Right? Well, I don't know. That's
interesting. The short of it for me was always, if the Twitter handle's available, go for it, because it's highly unlikely that whoever they were serious.
The domain was available. That was
the domain was. When you said about Team WP, I did think 4 letters before the word WP, you've done really well to capture something so short. And I thought that about Solid as well. I thought 5 letters, and we were just talking about Dennis from Main WP. There's just something cool about that. I don't know what it is, but if you get a short word and then slap WP on the end of it, for some reason that works with me. And Team WP, well done. Yeah, that's good. I like that. We're going to move on. I'm sure that story's going to come back. Let's see how that develops. But for now, we'll just move on. Oh, Nick Diego. We love Nick Diego. He has this solid plugin called Block Visibility. And this is just the best news. When something which is already really great, that which has a pro version, which then gets made all open source. So Nick has decided, and I believe it might be to do with the commitments that he's got on his time. I think I read somewhere this week that he was moving. Forgive me, Nick, if this is wrong. I think Nick might be moving over to Automatic. Has anybody heard that rumor? Yeah, Jess is nodding. Okay, so maybe there's something about that. He's got a different set of responsibilities. But he had Block Visibility, which is sort of like a conditional plugin. You chuck it into your WordPress website and you say things like, if the person is using Chrome that's visiting this page, show this block. If it's the 28th of December, show this block. So it's like the perfect little lightweight membership-y kind of plugin thing. Well, he had a pro version and he's decided, let's just make it all free. Let's just stick it all in the repo. The free version currently is called 3.0.0, and he hasn't managed to port every single feature as of yet. There's a couple of the pro versions which still need to be ported over, I guess, to the free version. But bravo is all I can say. He could have done something quite different, couldn't he? Kept on going with it. It could have suffered from his lack of time, perhaps, if that was indeed the case. It could have sold it on to somebody and all of that. But no. Give it away now. And I just got into the Chili Peppers. Check it out. How did that happen? I needed to roll my R's, Jess, didn't I? I forgot about that. So anyway, I just think this is all good news, and bravo to Nick for doing this. It's a cracking plugin if you haven't used it. So thoughts? We're going to have to rush a bit through this, I think.
What a mensch.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think to me, that's kind of like what open source is all about, right? I mean, that there are times that you just say, hey, I'm going to give this away. And then there's times where you monetize it because you need to pay your bills. And so, and I think that it's kind of cool to see. We see this happen sometimes where somebody just says, you know what, I'm not going to sell it. Like you said, Nathan, I'm not going to try and continue this. I'm going to give this away. And I think that that's awesome. And did I see that they are going to pull this into core, or is that just people wanting it?
No, I don't. I think everybody wants this to be in core. Mm-hmm. In fact, I did a podcast episode, and I can't remember who I did it with, but they were saying that the SaaS platforms, the rival platforms, conditional stuff is just baked in. There is that stuff, and in an industry where we're going head to head with Squarespace and Wix and Sitecore and all of those kind of things, this does to me feel like an 80%, 20%. I think most people could make use of this, even if it's just once a year, to inject a bit of snowfall at Christmas in your CSS style sheet. I don't know, but it does seem that you do want to hide things in certain situations. I vote for this to go into core. I think that would be great, but yeah.
Oh, it's just great for lead gen, right? So you think about all those sites out there that are looking for ways to grab email addresses or, provide extra access or things, and even sales, right? Like imagine a sale banner that's only visible to people that have logged in, right? Or whatever like that. There's some really cool things you could do that would continue to add value to the case you make for using WordPress instead of something else.
I actually downloaded it and had a play, and I remember thinking, boy, the set of conditions which are available is basically everything you need. I mean, sure, there's going to be some edge case stuff, but I think it combines with things like ACF. You can do queries. Okay, so here we go, right at the top of the article. user roles, status logged in, logged out, specific users, user IDs, screen sizes, interesting, query strings, ACF fields, and more. Like I said, there's a couple of the bits that I haven't yet come across, but bravo, Nick. It says on this page 9,000 active installs. Well, I think as of today, it's hovering around 10,000 plus. So it's just this has probably made it much more of interest to people. So yeah, great. Okay, from one extreme to the other. What can you say? If you have an Elementor website, sorry, I'm just going to make this site look like it's supposed to. If you have an Elementor website and you have WooCommerce on there, and that is the conditional, you have to have Elementor Pro, I think, and you have to have WooCommerce. Then there is an exploit going around in the wild which is being targeted, and I believe it allows completely trivially to create administrator users with almost no interaction. From there, of course, your site's not yours anymore. So that's it. You can read this article. It's on Hacker News. It's probably all over the other WordPress news sites by now, I would have thought. Yeah, if you've got that combination, Elementor Pro and WooCommerce, just stop what you're doing, go and fix that right now, immediately, like yesterday, and get that fixed. I won't go into the details, but do you want to comment on that, or should we just crack on? There's not really any to say there, is there? No. Okay. WP Engine have got a pattern manager which has come out into the repo. I confess I'm not quite sure what this is for. Did any of you guys have a chance to look extensively at this? Okay, you're nodding, right, Jess?
I did.
Okay.
And, once again, it annoys me how beautiful this is.
Oh, really? It's so good, eh? Oh,
I know. Great. WP Engine just has some brilliant developers on their team, and this is so smart. I really love the way that they've extended the pattern functionality and have made it just easier to manage your patterns. It's worth trying for sure.
My memory of reading this is that this is for development environments, right? Nobody's advocating this as some sort of cloud solution. This is the kind of thing which you attach to a local website, and it just allows you to iterate on your patterns, finally settle on the series of patterns that this particular site is going to use, and then you can corral them, organize them, and ship them with the live site. Have I got that right, Jess?
You are correct.
Okay, perfect.
But I also want to say you could use it anywhere.
Right. So it's not like a cloud-based thing, though, is it? It's not like you can sort of back them up to WP Engine's cloud and then just take them everywhere and none of that kind of stuff.
None of that.
No. Okay. Well, anyway, it's there for the taking if you want to go and check it out. It says, when you design beautiful block patterns for your theme, Pattern Manager WP by WP Engine will automatically push them into PHP files for you every time you save. With a dedicated studio to design and build block patterns, you can 10x your ability to work effectively with patterns. I should probably have more of a play with that, as I will do. James, anything on that, or Robbie, or should we just crack on? We've got a few more to get through.
I'm like you. I need to play around with this one and check it out. I have not yet, so.
And I do make extensive use of local. I crack local open more or less every single day, so this does look like a.
This was a smart one for sure.
Okay, right, okay. Right, so somebody helping us out here. Who's this? Demystifying Dev. The Pattern Manager is basically a great, in capital letters, help for dev workflow because you save patterns in code to the thing. Got it. Right, now it's making more sense. Screenshot. This is Nomad Skateboarding. Screenshot showing Frost theme, which was taken by the in-house WP Engine again from Brian Gardner. Okay, there was a screenshot somewhere, was there?
I did notice Frost in
there we go. Right. Okay, that's quite nice to look at, isn't it? Yeah, I get it. Okay, all right, Jess, I get what you mean. Why does it do that on the repo? When you click on an image, why does it open in a new window and you can't click backwards? I don't know what you have to click back to get. Anyway, the little gripe there.
I don't know. I'm a tab click chick. So.
Oh, really? Okay, interesting. Another thing in the repo, form block. We mentioned earlier that I was using WS Form for the Michelle Frechette thing. This is quite a nice new thing. Really, really new. They've just come out. They're on version 1.01, and essentially you build a form. inside the block editor. You know, you can imagine how this works. You just drag the fields in from the side, stick them in. I don't know how comprehensive this is. I don't know if there's like a pro version or anything like that. But I just thought, actually, building form.
There's a pro.
Is there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you remember what you get with that?
Like you could do like multiple emails with the pro. See if you wanted to send to multiple people and things like that. I can't remember what else is in the pro. There's not many extra features in the pro, but there are a few that probably would be the one you'd want, of course, you know. There is a pro version.
A few weeks ago, we featured Munir Kamal's. He's got like an overlay over Contact Form 7, which you can build in the block editor as well. So rather than doing it in that sort of fairly clumsy shortcode interface, which we've all used in the past, I'm sure, now you can build with the block editor, and this feels similar. So if you like the experience, you know, if your clients are into it and they want to build forms in this way, there you go. That's another thing. And we'll talk about security breach nightmares. PatchStack have got a biggie. Boy, I mean, it really doesn't get much worse than this. The entire, you can't even make it up, can you? The entire WordPress source code on April the 1st was found to be exposed online. All of it, every single line, not just the most current version, every other version as well. This is, I mean, it's negligence personified, isn't it?
I woke up Saturday morning, my day off, to see this news and was blown away.
I know.
Who would do such a thing?
I just thought, how have I never seen that story before? That was just genius. So hats off to Robert Rowley. Of course, the key there was the April the 1st mention. But it's just funny the way he goes through it as if it's the real thing. Sorry, I
love the discussion with Chet.
Yeah.
Just brilliant. You know, you can imagine some actual news outlet getting hold of this and thinking, "Oh, we've got a scoop on." Got a scoop on
automated press release feeders that like just shoot out the news.
That's great. And then they asked
the discussion with Chat GPT. Yeah, that was hysterical.
They asked Chat GPT about what it thought about the leak, and you can imagine the way that went. Yeah, it was really good. I just thought that was brilliant. So hat tip to Robert Rowley for making me laugh, because I actually, honestly, there were about 10 seconds where I was thinking, what? Oh, this is bad. Oh, wait, hold on. And then, oh, brilliant. Thank you so much for that. Right, let's move on quickly. We've got some non-WordPressy stuff. I want to introduce you to this page, right, very quickly. It's called All right, this is for the nerds. Get your tinfoil hats out. The trigonometric functions in CSS. Jess, this is for you. I just thought this was so sublimely cool. I mean, this is all done in CSS. How do I get this actually working now? Maybe I have to refresh the page because it worked for me before. Look at this. You can drag things. Oh, you use this. That's right. You can drag things around. And look at all the complicated, fun stuff that's going on. It doesn't end there. They give you examples of how to use it. And if you turn this on, where is it? Show the debug lines. It gives you all of the trigonometry that's going on to drive these circles in a circle, because you just think it's a circle. Of course, it's not a circle. It's actually a bunch of horizontal X and Y coordinates constantly being updated. But that's very cool, isn't it? And then this is my personal. Actually, I don't know what to make of that. That just seems confusing as all hell. But there it is. Moving on. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Sorry, I'm getting carried away.
It is beautiful.
It's like this Mobius strip just sort of constantly turning around in the background. Anyway, so Jess, you know, earlier we said you've got to memorize all of CSS plus all of the keystrokes for Gutenberg. I think we should add this into your workload as well. If you could figure out how to do these fairly basic trigonometry.
Yeah, I think because of the reschedule, I'm on here in about 4 weeks instead of 6. So
I think that's plenty of time. Yeah,
4 weeks is plenty of time to memorize all of this.
Anyway, I just thought that was kind of fun and a bit cool. I don't know if anybody's got anything to add about that. But here's the bombshell of the week, dropped by Jess. Genuinely, was this posted on the 1st of April, Jess? This piece?
No, it was.
Okay.
It was not.
Okay, here it is. Whoa.
Actually, no, it was. It was, but it's real.
Okay, so it just happened to coincide with April the 1st. So the headline reads, and I'll hand it over to Jess, ChatGPT banned in Italy over privacy concerns. So what, a blanket ban? Tell us more.
So they've banned it and they're investigating, but the TLDR is, well, you guys probably all saw that a whole bunch of tech leaders came together and, put a pause on, we're calling to put a pause on AI training for 6 months to try to figure out what to do to make things ethical and safe. But this is specifically about privacy. They're saying that it's improperly stored information, and it's basically ordered OpenAI to prove that they're not violating privacy, or they're done for now.
So do you mean that in the scraping, because I'm guessing that's probably the wrong word, but the large language model scrapes the internet up to a specific data, but I think now that's changing. I think with these new plugins, they're actually doing it all in real time. But so they're scraping things like what, email addresses and things like that, and that's getting stored in the language model, and it's that kind of thing that they've been gotten on.
It's collection and storage specifically. I don't know what the data points are, but I would imagine it includes that and more.
Good.
I read somewhere that it also had to do with the storing of the user's content too, meaning my profile information, my credit card if I've got ChatGPT Pro, also the prompts that I put in my conversations I've had with it, that those are possibly being exposed. And so that was part of what I saw in their privacy concerns too. I don't know if that's all, but.
So I'll just quickly read the first few paragraphs. Italy has become the first Western country to block advanced chatbot ChatGPT. The Italian Data Protection Authority said that there were privacy concerns relating to the model, which was created by US startup OpenAI and is backed by Microsoft. Blah, blah, blah. What else have we got? There have been concerns over the potential risks of artificial intelligence, including its threat to jobs. We've talked about that a lot a lot on this show. GDPR is mentioned here. The watchdog said that on the 20th of March that the app had experienced a data breach involving user conversations and payment information. Maybe that was the trigger for it, because I do remember that story. Some people were seeing payment information, albeit only the last 4 digits of the card number, but they were creeping into
it never occurred to me to ask for that.
Yeah. Can I, ChatGPT, please may I have Elon Musk's credit card number? See what you get. Okay, this is really interesting. And honestly, the first volley of this kind that I've seen. I know loads of people have got the concern tinfoil hat, and I've got a lot of concerns, I have to say, but I didn't honestly imagine that any nation would come out and say, right, that's it, stop using it. I don't know how you actually ban this though.
Well, it's already blocked in China and Russia and North Korea, the usual. But yeah, I'm really interested to see where this goes. They said they've got 20 days to comply with the investigation's questions.
Yeah. Courtney, by the way, is she's already on the case. Look, she wants the last 4 numbers of your social security number, and then shortly after that, can you give her the first 5?
Absolutely.
I'm guessing there's 9 numbers in that in the US social security number. Oh, yeah. I don't know, but fascinating. So
I'm going to put on a different hat here. And I'm going to say this is a bit clickbaity.
Interesting.
Because I don't think this is necessarily about AI. This is about a software company having a data breach. And so if we were to replace ChatGPT with any other name, right, it's just another software company with a significant data breach that has 20 days to comply.
Fine. Got it.
The AI side of it, to me, is like, does the model have access to information it's not supposed to? Is that what we're actually investigating here? I don't know if that's the case. From what the article said, I got out of it that it was related to the data breach of, information being improperly stored, and that's an issue, everyone faces. So
accidentally clicked something. Here we go. So there's an organization called the BEUC, and I can't actually find what that stands for. If anybody can help me out and tell me what the BEUC, but I think it's obviously some body in Italy. I don't know. It says there are serious concerns about how ChatGPT and similar chatbots might deceive and manipulate people. That's got nothing to do with data protection. No, well, maybe it has. These AI models, these AI systems need greater public scrutiny, and public authorities must reassert control over them. So that's coming from the more traditional moral panic mode, isn't it? Whereas, James, what you're saying is this just is basically a data breach and substitute, like you say, the word, I don't know.
Well, the quote that I saw was the mass collection and storage of personal information for the purpose of training the algorithms underlying operation of the platform. So I think that's what makes it different.
That's fair.
Interesting.
It's not like they're storing it in a database and then, they shouldn't have had it. It's that it's being used to teach the computer.
Yeah. I think my concern, my moral panic mode is it just seems to be going at such breakneck speed that it concerns me that I don't know that we're really aware of what kind of consequences are going to be. But yeah, interesting. So if you're in Italy, you can no longer write those 10,000 word articles about anything that you chose. You know, that's all out off the table now. Right, couple of minutes. Let's see if we can do this one. What? The title is "The Moon is Getting a 4G Network Thanks to Nokia." Jess, this was you again. I didn't even
I'm
read
coming
it.
in hot.
I just thought that's what it is, right? It's that. Really?
Yeah, they're gonna get to play with rovers, and they're gonna be able to talk with each other. It's very cool.
But they've got a telephone. They're going to put a telephone network up on the moon. I guess it's just one little station, and if you're not that close, you've had it. Interesting, fascinating.
It's all part of the Artemis program. I mean, the Artemis program is amazing, and if you guys haven't looked at it, you really need to look at it because I'm a real space nut. I love it. I love NASA, and so and if you're in Houston, you should go down to Space Center because there's a fantastic exhibit explaining how they're going to do Artemis. Because they're going to have a space station revolving around the moon, and you're going to have transports going back and forth between it, they need to have cellular reception there. It's going to be important.
It's mental. A friend of mine, when I was a child, so 87 years ago or something, a friend of mine signed a record contract, right? And in the contract, one of the sub-clauses was that the record label had the rights to distribute. So bearing in mind, this was when I was a kid, the rights to distribute that music on Earth and its solar system. Wow. So even back then, they were thinking, we're gonna colonize the whole thing, and we need to be able to flog your record. I mean, it turned out the record never sold anything, so it didn't really matter. But the point's the same. If you can sell the Beatles on Mars, the Mars becomes the Napster of the solar system. Sorry, James, I cross-talked you. So what were you going to say?
No, it's my fault. I said Spotify on the moon.
Yeah. Well, this is fascinating. So if you if you're getting problematic reception down here on Earth, you know where to go. Get yourself on a SpaceX rocket.
Why sadly, would they downgrade from 5G to 4G?
Yes, yeah, that's right. It's not top quality, is it? Their Wi-Fi will be 1 megabit per second or something. The British
there won't be a dark side to the moon anymore.
Oh, the British endeavour, led by Richard Branson from Virgin, looks like it to get into space. They've got this. They had this system of flying a rocket on the bottom of a jumbo jet, and then it would decouple and go. So, in other words, you'd have to overcome much of Earth's gravity. You're already in the low Earth, whatever it is. That seems to have all collapsed this week. It's gone into. They've said they're not going to do any more research. They've laid off, I think it was 90% of their staff. So, yay, British engineering! Woohoo!
You've got to take those moonshots.
Oh, that was good. Ka-ching. That is the title of this episode. I'm going to write that down. You gotta take Those moonshots. Right. Okay, that's it. We will be back. That's it. We've done it. We will be back next week. I've just remains for me to say super duper thank you. That was a really interesting conversation. Went off in all sorts of different directions. Big thank you to Jess Frick from Pressable. Thank you also to Robbie Adair from OS Training, and also James Giroux from now Team WP. I really appreciate it. One last thing before I let you go, you have to do the quite humiliating hand wave. The double hand. Oh, look, straight away, everybody's. Hang on, and again, James. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Okay, we got you. Thank you very much. Really appreciate all your comments. I can see that in the comments it went off in all sorts of directions. I honestly just couldn't keep up. So if you wrote something which needed our attention, forgive me. I apologise. We'll be back next week for episode 248. And yeah, thanks for your attendance. Take it easy. Bye.